I always found it difficult to find a label that best describes me. In primary school, I knew I was attracted to the same sex, but I was also attracted to the opposite sex. I never really had anyone to talk to about it. I was always told that there are two types of people, gay and straight. And being gay at a very conservative school, I was told that gay was not good. High school was hard. It was a very homophobic environment, and not just homophobic language either. It was really deep-seated stuff. Bullying was everywhere. You'd even get called gay for wearing the wrong shoes. I began asserting my own individuality in an aggressive way, as a tactic to stay safe. I remember I used to watch Queer as Folk on SBS in my bedroom. I would sit really close to the TV and have the sound down so low so I could turn it off if someone walked in. Just being caught watching that show would mean that my secret would be out. Coming out as bisexual has been mostly quite negative. I've been quite shocked by the lack of understanding from the gay community and from girls. So many people insist that I really must be gay, or that I'm going through a phase. When I've come out as bisexual to gay male friends, there's been a lot of judgment. As far as I'm concerned though, I don't have time for judgmental people. Relationships can be hard too. I'm currently with a boy. He asks me a lot if I miss being with girls. I always say no. I would rather be with you. I don't miss being with a piece of anatomy. It's so boring to fit into boxes all the time. I think people who obsess about labels compromise parts of themselves just so they can fit in. If life was black and white, we'd miss out on all the pretty colours of the rainbow.
I struggled through childhood largely because of gender confusion and pressure over gender roles. When I hit puberty, I thought, there is something really wrong and I don't know what it is. When I was 17, I accidentally came out to Mum as a lesbian. It was a bit disastrous because it was the same day she found out my dad was gay. The way it came out was as if I was trying to defend my dad. She forced me back into a closet. Don't tell your brothers, they've just found out your dad is gay. I suppose I was dressing like a boy at that time and wearing mohawks before they were in fashion. I heard so many times, is that a boy or a girl? Which I hated. It seemed to make them confused, and that made me confused. At high school with my friends, I would feel invisible. They were all relating to me as a girl, which wasn't really who I was inside. I guess I just felt kind of jealous of the way that my female friends looked at other guys. I wanted them to look at me that way. And I was really uncomfortable with the way that the guys looked at me. I went to Sydney and met a couple of trans guys. I used to go out to this drag king night. I would go out and dress up with facial hair, and I really liked it. I got a lot of positive feedback. This friend said that I became this different person when I was in drag. More comfortable and confident, just happier and bubblier. It got to the point where after I'd been out, I'd wake up and wouldn't want to take off the facial hair. I remember that as I was talking to a friend about this book on trans people, I found at the library. Pretty soon it all suddenly hit me. I was no longer in denial. On the one hand, it was liberating, and on the other hand, the most terrifying moment of my life. I looked down at my body, knowing how I felt inside, and seeing my body didn't match that, and realised I had a long road ahead of me, including telling my family. After the way my mum treated me when I came out, I thought I'd be completely ostracised. But it was actually okay. She saw it as her chance to do it right this time. She said on the phone that she was really not surprised. She said I had to do what was right for me. I ended up moving back in with her and my two brothers. For me, there was no doubt that I wanted hormones, surgery. When I accepted that, I felt so much relief. I was really excited about my voice breaking and growing facial hair. Things changed so much after surgery. Issues from the past just came up one after the other. People think that when the physical body finally matches your insides, that everything will be alright. But then it was the 25 years of living a life that was not my true identity. All the grief and pain that went with that, feeling that I'd been robbed of my birthright, that maybe my life had been a mistake. I'm not speaking for all trans guys, but for me, transitioning was a spiritual process. It was about coming into my own body, and it was about healing. And transitioning is something that still continues and hasn't stopped. I definitely don't regret transitioning.
I started living part-time a decade ago before transitioning full-time. I had a lot of trouble because in the early years of trans medicine, if you identified as a lesbian, you were not allowed on hormones. You had to be attracted to men and consider yourself straight. On the other hand, I got a lot of transphobia from lesbian women. I'm like a lot of the girls. I spent a lot of time overcompensating, doing masculine things to prove I was as manly as they come. I disappeared to the Northern Territory in Western Australia and worked on cattle stations. Between cattle stations and racing motorbikes, my body is pretty second-hand. Where I get into trouble is when I present as a female but use the male part of my personality. If the car breaks down, guess what? I fix the car. I know plenty of girls who can fix their car but won't because they're girls now. I got burnt badly when I first transitioned. I had some friends who didn't know how to treat me, and then I had a few that just flipped out who wouldn't call me Alexis. And then I had others who were big, ochre and Aussie who became really protective of me. So if I went out, you wouldn't want to cross me because you'll have a big burly biker breathing down your neck. My nephew asked me, "What do I call you now?" I said, "Alexis will do." He said, "Okay, cool." So, the trans community can be a tough place, especially if people tell you you have to go on hormones or follow the medical route. The ultimate goal is not always surgery. I don't believe in that shit. I believe everyone should make up their own bloody minds. I had a long-term friend who used to always say we needed something out here so we didn't have to go to the city. She'd say, "When I win the lottery, we'll start our own trans support group and do it our way." I then stopped her one day and said, "We don't need to win the lottery to do this." I think her head's still spinning. There were a lot of trans people out here who felt left out. We have everyone from teens to people in their 60s coming along. Historically, there were about 75% male to female trans people, but now that's changing. I love watching young people come into themselves, whether they be gay, trans, whatever. I like seeing young people getting the best start possible, especially young trans people. When I'm supporting young people and I'm out and about, in a number of places I've been asked if I'm their mother. My motto is that if you're not hurting anyone, it's cool. If we all took that on, that would save a lot of grief.